For those of you who have experience with power tools, you know the importance of being careful. As you know, power tools don't have eyes, minds. They don't discriminate for or against anyone at any time. Always wear safety glasses, use properly grounded extension cords, and never put your fingers or any other body parts in front of moving blades. Before you even plug in your power tool, read the instruction manual and learn about the tool's safety devices. When you do this, you'll have a jump on safety before you ever begin. There are different overhangs for different areas of your countertop. Above cabinet doors and drawers, near walkways or doorways, 1 to 1.25 inches is standard. Eating bar areas, 11 or 12 beyond the cabinet is standard. Anything beyond 12, you may need an angle bracket to support your countertop. Near stoves or refrigerators, stop the countertop flush with the end of the cabinet. Draw out the outside dimensions of your countertop. Mark centers to sinkholes or range tops. Once you've completed your drawing, it's time to begin your project. The first countertop I'm going to show you today is called the Postform countertop, also known as the no drip or the rolled edge. The first step is cutting your countertop to length. Mark your length, then using a framing square, draw a straight line. Once you've marked your line, it's time to cut. Countertops on a professional level are cut with an industrial beam saw. You're probably not going to have one of those. So the next best thing is a circular saw or a jigsaw. When you cut a countertop, you want to go into the front edge through the back. When you cut with a circular saw, your saw blade only comes down so far, so you'll need to take your jigsaw and cut the rest of that out. When cutting your Postform top out with a jigsaw only, use at least a 3-inch blade. And the reason is you're going to come up through the top, and when you go to take this turn, if your blade is too short, your saw will kick back. When you start to cut, start from this direction right here, come up, go down, and when you come close to the front edge, stop and turn your saw around and cut into the front edge. This keeps you from chipping the front edge out. It's time to make your sink or cooktop opening cutouts. Using a framing square with the countertop upside down, mark out your cutout dimensions. Once you've done this, drill a pilot hole for your jigsaw blade and begin to cut. Put a piece of wood the same thickness as the front edge. This allows for a smooth transition from this height to this height. It's time to put your miter seam together. You can use an acrylic or a silicone caulk in between your joint. I prefer to use wood glue. It creates a stronger bond. After you've glued your seam, we'll put it together, and it's time to bolt the countertop together. These are called draw bolts. You can purchase them separately in the same area that you find the Postform slabs. First thing you want to do is put your bolts in and tighten them most of the way, but loose enough to still move your countertop around to adjust it. Line up your front edge, move the top around back and forth to get it as level as you can, and begin to tighten from the very first bolt from the front corner. Once you get that first bolt tightened, move down this way to the second bolt, make any adjustments, and begin to tighten your second bolt up. Repeat the steps all the way till the end, adjusting it from the back. Before you nail this strip of wood on the back, using a chisel, scrape off any hot melt glue. You're also going to put support blocks around the back of the countertop, keeps the countertop level on top of the cabinets, same height as the front edge. You're going to glue and nail support sticks across your seam. This keeps your countertop from separating. Once you've done that, you're going to flip your countertop over, and you're going to clean the excess glue or caulking off of the seam before it dries. And then you're going to do any final adjustments on the seam using a block of wood. Once you've completed that, you're going to fasten the backsplash with a screw. Before you drill your hole, check and make sure the backsplash is even. At this point, it's time to sand the end of the countertop that's going to get an end cap. This is your laminate end cap. On the back is hot melt glue. You're going to heat up the hot melt glue with a heat gun and stick it on the countertop. Keep your hands all the way around the end cap to make sure that all areas are covered. Once you have it on there, roll it. Once you've applied your end cap, it's going to be time to route off the excess laminate. I recommend you use the straight flute bearing bit like this one. Once you've installed your router bit, adjust your router base up to where the bottom of the base is about 1/4 inch from the top of the carbide, like this. Filing your countertop is a 3-step process. The first step is to remove the small lip that extends beyond the laminate surface that butts up against the last piece you've routed. Holding your file in a direction that the front of your file faces your laminate, lay your file on the countertop at a slight angle to where the tip does not scratch the laminate, and in forward motions begin to file. As you continue filing, you'll begin to see the small lip disappear. Continue to do this until it becomes flush with the laminate surface. When you route off laminate with a router bit, it leaves little marks in the laminate edge. Lay your file on the countertop, this time tilting your file more than you did in step 1, and repeat the forward motions. You'll begin to see that black line become smooth and darker. The third and final step is to remove the sharp edge the router bit has left behind. Tilting your file even more than you did in the second step, begin filing in forward motions. Repeat this step on all edges that have been rounded. Once your countertop is complete, take a clean white rag, chemical resistant gloves, and make sure you have adequate ventilation and clean your countertops with glue solvent or lacquer thinner. I've showed you how to build the Postform countertop. Now I'm going to show you how to build a custom-made countertop called the Square Edge. Unlike the Postform, a factory-made top I just did the finish work to, I'm going to build the Square Edge countertop from start to finish. Everything from cutting out the wood to laminating the countertop. This is the countertop we're going to do today. It's 25 inches deep, 48 inches long with a backsplash. Both the right, left, and the front are all going to be laminated. The first step to building the custom-made countertop is to core it out, which means we're going to build the wood core that the finished product is going to adhere to. The top surface of your countertop would be made out of plywood or particle board. It's 3/4 inches thick. The countertop is 48 by 25. Being a professional in the industry, I have access to 25-inch board from the factory, so all I have to do is cut it to length. So we're going to take the tape measure, come down to 48 inches. Using my framing square, I'm going to draw a square line. Once I've cut the countertop to length, I'm going to mark all the finished ends and fronts that are going to be laminated with an X. And on this countertop, it's going to be the front, the right, and the left. And on the back of the countertop, where there's going to be a backsplash, just draw a straight line. Next step is to cut out your build-up strips. Build-up strips are pieces of wood 1.5 inches wide by 3/4 inches thick that will be fastened with screws to the bottom of the countertop surface to create a full 1.5 inches thick countertop core. Cut these strips out of a sheet of wood using a jigsaw, circular saw, or a table saw. The countertop's 48 inches long. The first strip we're going to put on is going to be the front edge. So we'll put it up here and we'll make sure it's flush. We'll come to the opposite end and mark it. And now we'll cut it on the miter box saw. Once you cut your build-up strip, you're going to pre-drill your holes and get ready to fasten it. On areas that you're going to laminate, build-up strips need to be flush. Start at one end, line it up, and begin to screw the screws in. One at a time, adjusting it as you go. Once you've applied the front build-up strip, measure from the back of the countertop to the back of the front build-up strip. Get the measurement and cut the end strips. The coring out process is complete. Now it's time to sand all of your edges. That will be laminated. I'll sand with a belt sander, then I'm going to touch up the corners with a block sander. The The coring out process is complete. Now it's time to cut out the laminate. You can use a jigsaw with a fine blade, a router with a straight flute bearing bit, laminate scissors, and a table saw is a good tool as well. Regardless of the tool you use, make sure the finished side of the laminate is facing up and pay attention, or you'll be buying a new sheet of laminate. When I'm cutting my laminate, the first piece I cut is the largest piece I need. In this case, it's going to be a piece to fit the 48 by 25 inch top. We're going to cut the laminate an inch or two bigger than what we need. So we'll cut a piece 50 by 27. You're going to use the same cutting techniques to cut out your backsplash material and your edging. Backsplashes are typically 4 inches high, so you'd want to cut your backsplash laminate around 4.5 to 5 by an inch longer once again, 49 or 50 inches long. Your edges are 1.5 inches thick, so make your laminate edges around 1 3/4 to 2 inches. Once you've got all this stuff cut out, it's going to be time to start gluing up your edges. You're going to use a contact adhesive. Contact adhesive comes in brush grade, spray grade, flammable, and non-flammable. This is going to be a brush grade flammable. Use good ventilation. Make sure you read the precaution labels on the can. It's important. Don't forget. Pour your glue into a disposable paint pan. Using a 3-inch roller, glue the wood edges, glue your laminate, and then because the glue soaks into the wood grain, glue it a second time. After you cut your laminate out, you'll see little chips on the edges. Sand them off before you glue, or those chips will end up in the glue, and then it'll create a bump in your laminate. You've glued your laminate, so let's go back once again and put that second coat on the wood. Glue sets up best at 68 degrees or higher. The higher the temperature, the quicker the cure time. The best way to tell if your glue is ready to stick is by touching it. If you touch it and it's coming off and sticking onto your finger, it's too wet. You can see over in this area, you can hear it. It's tacky, but it's not coming off. If everything is like this, if all the laminate and all the wood is tacky but not coming off, it's time to stick your laminate. Once your glue is set up, take your edging and from one end to the other, begin to stick it. Once you have your piece on, begin to roll it. Whenever you're butting laminate into other laminate, clean up your edge using a miter box saw or laminate scissors. Once you've done this, stick your laminate. And roll it. As you noticed when I routed off the end cap, I stopped at the corner. The reason this tip is here is because the front has shaped itself around the pieces that were sticking up on the side. If I would have continued on, it would have chipped this out and you'd have to pull the edge band off and replace it. So when you come to this corner going this direction, stop, turn your router to where it now goes that direction, taking that tip off. Once you've routed off all your laminate, you're going to feel a pretty rough surface. You're going to want to sand it. Using a belt sander, always this direction with the front of the sander hanging over. If you do it that direction, you're going to create little chips on the top of your laminate. Once you determine the location of your seam, mark it, use your framing square to draw a straight line. And then take your straight edge seamer, line it up with the line, and fasten it to the top of the countertop. Lay your laminate on top, just on one side first. Make sure you got overhang everywhere, and clamp it. Then you're going to take your other piece. You're going to do the same thing, making sure that it's covering everywhere, and then you're going to clamp it. Okay, once you've done this, it's time to run the router across there and make your seam. Take one of the pieces that's left over and straighten it up this way, trying to make it parallel with the front edges of your laminate. Mark this side, lift this piece up, and mark this side. Now, after you glue it, when you put these two pieces together and lining up those marks, they're going to go back at the same exact spot as when they were routed. Now it's time to file the edges of the seam. Just like this. You clean the bottom of that off, and now gently, you're going to file that. Just like that. Then you'll do the other side. Turn these pieces around. You're going to make sure that the laminate is covering all the way around the countertop. Line up your two marks and make sure that the seam looks pretty good all the way down through it. Okay? Once you've determined that the seam's been cut out right, it looks good, it's time to glue up the deck. When determining the location of your seams, keep them away from sinks above dishwashers. And since contact adhesive is a heat-activated glue, keep it away from stoves and microwaves. Before you glue your countertop up, take your hands across it and make sure that all dirt and the laminate chips are gone so you can get a nice clean glue up. Unlike the edges, you're not going to glue the deck up twice on the wood. It's not an open grain part of the wood, and one coat is sufficient. Like I told you during the glue up of the edging, look around your edges for little chips. If you run your roller over those, they're going to end up in the middle of your laminate. And then you're going to have problems with bumps in your top. Glue the top of your backsplash and the laminate for it. Run your hands across the top of the wood and on the back side of the laminate. Line up your first piece of laminate with the line on the wood. From one side to the other, run your hand across. Once you've done that, roll it down. You're going to take a dowel rod, put it about 6 to 8 inches away from the seam, and you're going to bring your other piece in and line it up on that line. Run your hand down through it like this, and let that piece over, and roll your seam down. Now, you're going to come over on the other side, and you're going to push it down. Now you've created a bubble. Take your roller and roll on this side of the dowel rod. Pull it out. Now you're going to gently start to push that bubble in, and you'll see your gap tighten up. That creates a nice pressured seam that's going to protect from water and dirt. Once you've got that laid down, go ahead and roll the entire countertop. You just see me lay my top deck with one dowel rod. I only use that to create a bubble for my pressured seam. I don't recommend you lay your laminate this way. You should use dowel rods. Lay them every 6 to 8 inches across your countertop. Lay your laminate on top. This allows you to move your laminate around without it sticking to the wood. Once you've seen this covering everywhere, start from left to right or right to left and begin to remove your dowel rods one at a time. Every time you pull one, rub your hand across your laminate. Repeat this all the way to the end. Start from one end and slowly go down, sticking it. Roll it. My countertop and my backsplash are complete. There are two ways to attach a backsplash onto the countertop. You can attach it using screws, or you can install it on a job using construction adhesive, which I'll show you later on in the installation segment. This countertop, I'm going to attach it with screws. Your backsplash is 3/4 of an inch thick. From the back edge of your countertop, come in half the distance, which is 3/8, and draw a line all the way across the back of your countertop. With an 1/8 inch drill bit, drill a hole right in the middle of that line about every 6 to 8 inches. Turn your backsplash upside down using a caulking that best matches the color of your laminate, which in this case will be clear. Put it across the whole bottom of the backsplash. I know what you might be thinking, that this caulking is white, and I told you it's clear, but it's going to dry clear. We'll flip it over, and you're going to flush it out with the back of the countertop. Take a clamp around the middle of the countertop and gently start to tighten it up. It can be loose enough to where you can still move your backsplash around a little bit. It's just stabilizing the backsplash. Once you do that, put a screw up in the first hole and begin to fasten. Tighten it up real good. Go to the next one. Feel the back of the backsplash to make sure it's still even. And fasten the second screw in. And repeat the steps all the way to the other end until all the screws are in. Use a clean rag and clean up the caulking. I'm now going to install a Postform countertop in the square edge. Whether you have 36 inches or 36 feet of countertop, the same installation techniques are going to be applied. The first thing I do before I put my countertop on the cabinets is I make sure that the cabinets are secure, I make sure that they're level, and I make sure that above dishwasher areas or cabinets that don't reach the wall, like Lazy Susan cabinets, or below eating bar areas, that I put a wood cleat on the wall to support the countertop. Put a level on top of your cabinets and draw a line. Take a piece of wood that's been pre-drilled in the locations that you know your studs are at. And screw it to the wall. Your cabinets may have plastic corner brackets with pre-drilled holes or wood brackets that you have to drill the hole in. This hole is for the screw to go up into to fasten the countertop. Once I determine the length of my screws, I set my countertop on top of the cabinets and I push it against the wall and I see what kind of fit I have where the backsplash meets the wall. If I see there are gaps behind the backsplash, I'll find where it's touching and I'll take my pencil and I'll come in about the same amount that there's a gap. It looks like there's about 1/8 of an inch. So I'll mark it about 1/8 of an inch all the way across, following that hump in the wall. Once I finish marking that, I'll take my belt sander and I'll sand the back of this backsplash to make this top fit tight against the wall. In the event you still have questions about scribing, I've made a drawing. In this drawing, the wall is straight, it humps out, and becomes straight again. When I butt my countertop up against the wall, this hump keeps my countertop away 1/4 inch from the wall on both sides. The first thing I do is draw a line where the hump starts and draw a line where the hump stops. Since it's keeping it away 1/4 inch, I'll go from the back of the top towards the front and make a mark at 1/4 inch. Then I try to duplicate the shape of the hump on top of the countertop. I sand it with a belt sander until I can get it to fit against that wall tight on both sides. Once you've scribed and achieved the quality fit, It's time to fasten the countertop down. An easy way to determine the length of the screw you'll need is to stack up wood equivalent to the thickness of your countertop. Measure from the bottom of the angle bracket to the top of the stack and deduct 1/4 inch. This will leave 1/4 inch before you reach the top surface. By using this simple procedure, it'll help you avoid running a screw up through your countertop. Once you're finished attaching the countertop, it's going to be time to caulk. You're going to caulk everywhere that you can see the countertop meet the wall. Using a latex caulking only, it's paintable. If you use a silicone, not only is it not paintable, you'll have to use a glue solvent to get it off, which will take the paint off your wall. The caulking's all cleaned up, the Postform countertop's installed. Let's go ahead and install the square edge top now. I have fastened a cleat to the wall to show the proper way to fasten the countertop to the cleat. The preliminary setup to doing the square edge countertop is the same as the Postform. Applying cleats on the walls, securing cabinets, determining screw length. In the Postform segment, I showed you how to cut a sinkhole upside down. This is because the distance between the back of the sink and the backsplash is too narrow for my jigsaw to go through without damaging the top. On the square edge with loose backsplashes, we can cut it from the top, which I prefer to do. Once I've completed fastening the countertop to the corner brackets, I'm going to take my level and I'm going to make sure the back sink area is level. When I cut this out, this makes this countertop pretty weak in the back. So I've marked where my wall studs are. I'm going to pre-drill pilot holes and fasten screws right through the countertop and attach it to the studs in the wall. This will strengthen this up. This area here is above a cleat. Now, when you install your countertop, like above dishwashers, you're not going to be able to get underneath there and fasten the countertop. So you're going to have to do it from the top. Your backsplash is 3/4 inch thick, so you want to mark that at 3/4. And that way you keep within that margin when you drill, and your backsplash will cover it up. Looking down both sides of the backsplash, you can see that there's a hump in this middle. If this countertop had an attached backsplash, this is what you'd end up seeing on a finished product. This is the reason why you'd put a backsplash on loose, is because we can fasten that in after it's been glued. And once it sets up, it'll stay like that. Before you glue up your backsplash, you're going to need to cut support sticks. These are sticks that sit from the top of the backsplash to the bottom of the wall cabinet. If you have a measurement like this, is 12 1/4, you'll cut that stick about 12 3/8, which makes it a tight fit, and it really forces the backsplash in and down. In areas where there's no wall cabinets, go from the top of the backsplash to the ceiling. Take caulking that best matches the color of your laminate and put a bead down the bottom of the backsplash. Using a good construction adhesive, lay quarter-size dots every 6 to 8 inches. closer to the bottom of the backsplash so it doesn't squirt out the top. Put your backsplash up there and push it against the wall. When putting your stick up, put a piece of cardboard on the top so it doesn't damage the top part of your cabinet. Push your caulking in the joint. The backsplash is installed. Leave the sticks up for a minimum of 24 hours. 3 days is good. You want the backsplash to stay in its place. Once you remove the sticks, use a paintable latex caulking and caulk around the top of the backsplash. I've had a great time showing you how to build and install the Postform and the square edge countertops. I'm confident you have the information you need to make your project a successful one. From Douglas the Countertop Guy, good luck on your countertop project, and thanks for watching Kitchen and Bath Laminate Countertops